There's a voice in your head right now. It is reading these words to you in your own tone, your own rhythm, your own internal accent. You didn't choose to activate it. You can't switch it off. It is narrated nearly every waking moment of your life. Your arguments, your apologies, your 2 a.m. spirals, your shower time speeches to people who will never hear them. You have always assumed this voice is universal. You have always assumed everyone has one. Here is what nobody told you. Roughly half the people on Earth do not. We treat inner monologue the way we treat breathing. Automatic, universal, unremarkable. Something every human shares by default. But cognitive scientists have spent the last 2 decades quietly dismantling that assumption. The truth is stranger than anyone expected. Some people experience a constant verbal narrator, full sentences playing in their head like a private podcast running 24 hours a day. Others experience almost nothing. No inner voice at all, just images, feelings, abstract impressions moving through their mind in total silence. For most of human history, nobody noticed this gap existed. People simply assumed their own experience was the baseline. The talker assumed everyone talks. The silent thinker assumed everyone is silent. Neither side had any reason to question it, because how would you ever find out that your mind works differently from someone else's? You cannot see inside another person's head. You can only assume it looks like yours. So here's the question that should unsettle you before this video even properly begins. If the voice in your head feels like the most fundamental, undeniable part of being you, what does it mean that half the people around you don't have it at all? In 2011, a psychologist named Russell Hurlburt developed something called descriptive experience sampling. The method is almost embarrassingly simple. Give someone a small beeper. Have it go off randomly throughout the day. The instant it beeps, the person stops and records exactly what was happening in their mind in that precise moment. Not what they think usually happens, not a guess, but the literal content of their consciousness at that exact second. What Hurlburt found broke the assumption almost everyone walks around with. Some participants reported constant inner speech, full sentences, internal debates, verbal rehearsal before conversations. Other participants reported something completely different. No words, no sentences, just sensory impressions, emotions, and visual thinking. A kind of cognition that runs without language at all. A 2021 study published in Psychological Science, led by researcher Hélène Loevenbruck, gave this phenomenon a name: anendophasia, the absence of inner speech. The estimates vary, but multiple studies now suggest somewhere between 30 and 50% of people experience little to no verbal inner monologue, which means the voice narrating your life right now, the one reading this sentence to you internally as you watch, might be something close to half of humanity has simply never experienced. Here's where it gets stranger. People who lack an inner voice are not less intelligent. They are not less self-aware. Many report rich emotional lives, complex problem-solving, vivid creativity. They simply think in a different format. Some researchers describe it as thinking in pure concept, meaning arriving fully formed without needing to be translated into language first. Now here's the part that should stop you completely. Most people who don't have an inner voice didn't know it was unusual until adulthood. They assumed thinking in words was a figure of speech, a metaphor, something people said but didn't literally mean. Imagine discovering at 35 years old that the way other people describe their own minds is not a metaphor at all. Imagine the opposite. Imagine discovering that some people's heads are completely silent. Pause on that. The shower conversation. The imaginary argument you win in your head on the drive home. The pep talk before a hard conversation. For half the population, none of that ever happens. Not occasionally, not differently, never. Now the third layer, and this is the one that connects everything back to you. Inner speech isn't just commentary, it appears to be functional. Studies using fMRI show that inner monologue activates Broca's area, the same brain region involved in producing actual speech. When you talk to yourself silently, your brain is running a stripped-down version of the same machinery it uses to talk out loud. Some researchers believe this internal voice helps regulate behavior, slowing down impulsive decisions, organizing complex plans, rehearsing social interactions before they happen. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If inner speech helps regulate behavior, what regulates the people who don't have it? The honest answer is, we don't fully know yet. Some researchers suspect those individuals rely more heavily on visual and embodied thinking to do the same job. Others believe the regulatory function might simply work differently, not worse. But here is the layer beneath that. The voice you've been hearing your entire life, narrating your decisions, replaying your conversations, rehearsing your apologies. It might not be thought itself. It might be a tool your brain built on top of thought, a translator, a narrator added after the fact, which means somewhere beneath the voice before the sentences even form, something else is doing the actual thinking. You've just never heard it. Think about the last time you rehearsed a conversation in the shower. You weren't thinking in that moment. You were listening to your brain perform a conversation that hadn't happened yet. You assumed that voice was you, but the voice arrives after something else has already decided what you're upset about, what you want to say, how you actually feel. The voice is downstream. It's narrating a decision that was already made somewhere quieter, somewhere you've never directly accessed by a part of your mind that doesn't use words at all. You have spent your entire life identifying with the narrator. You have never met the author. And somewhere in this exact city, this exact street, Someone is having the same emotional experience: frustration, joy, grief, decision-making, with absolutely no narrator at all. No shower speeches, no inner courtroom, just the raw material arriving wordless and complete. They are not missing anything. You are not gaining anything. You are simply running different software for the same underlying hardware. Here's the question I cannot put down. If half of human consciousness runs with a narrator and half runs in total silence, which version is actually closer to the raw experience of being alive? Is the voice in your head helping you understand yourself? Or is it standing between you and something quieter that was already there? You will never know what it feels like to think without the voice. The people who think without it will never know what it feels like to hear one. Two completely different inner worlds walking past each other on the same street, each one certain their version is simply what it means to be human. The next time that voice starts talking to you, in the shower, in the car, in the quiet seconds before you fall asleep, ask yourself who exactly is speaking and who, underneath all of it, is listening.